Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. As you can see, it's first light here in Sydney town on this wonderful autumn morning, and it's going to be an absolutely magical sunrise that'll come up over the next half an hour or so, and we'll hopefully see that beautiful radiant pinkness, orangeness of the horizon as we welcome another beautiful day. It's going to be absolutely magical, no doubt, which leads me into the topic that we're going to discuss today, and it's yet another book summary, a book summary entitled Creating Magic by an author named Lee Cockerell. Lee Cockerell was a vice president of the Disney Corporation, a great leader of people, who also had an esteemed career in the Marriott and the Hilton hotels, having come through the ranks. And he shares his experiences, both positive and negative, as a leader, and gives us a taste of what it takes to be somebody who makes a difference, and as we said, somebody who's sharing his experiences that we can hopefully learn from and leverage. So Lee Cockerell in this book kicks off with a thought-provoking quote where he says that we've always done it this way, but that could actually mean that you've always been doing it the wrong way. So what Lee basically alludes to is that he suggests that nobody has a monopoly on the truth and rightness in terms of how an organisation, how a corporation runs and expands, but the objective, the key objective of a great leader is to harness the knowledge, the wisdom, the talents of their team in order to incorporate those elements into the overall formula, process, system that creates magic, that creates a greater outcome for not only that individual, but also customers, fellow employees, and the community in which that organisation belongs to. So what we'll do is we'll step through three of the key points that Lee makes, and these points are timeless. They've stood the test of time, and I'm sure that in 100 years from now, when other people listen to this vlog, you'll be able to take some of these key points and see that they are relevant then just as much as they are now in 2022. So the first key message that comes from this book, from Lee Cockerell, is the call to action for leaders to understand that everyone in our lives, everyone within your organisation is special and unique in a variable way, and it is up to the leader, up to the leadership team to make the most of that uniqueness and to create an environment with systems and processes to help extract and express these gifts for the betterment of all. All opinions, according to Lee, all opinions matter and deserve to be listened to. So once again, these are key points key elements that come from this book, and I guess we learn them through life over time when we spend moments with people. You do seem to understand a little bit better and appreciate that everybody is special in a unique way, and these unique characteristics need to be extracted, need to be leveraged, need to be identified, need to be recognised, acknowledged, and awarded and rewarded in order for them to continue to evolve and to grow. So all opinions matter and deserve to be listened to, according to Lee. And what he's saying is that these are the key elements that need to be used by leaders to maximise their effectiveness. So what else can we learn from this book? What else can we learn from this wonderful author? I had the benefit of working for some of the best corporations in the world. I've worked for IBM, Telstra, Optus. I've worked for a top-tier law firm and a top-tier recruitment firm. And along the way, we've picked up quite a few skills. And Lee, no doubt, with his experience being a global leader in an organisation that makes tremendous difference to people's lives, both employees, shareholders, stakeholders, customers, etc. He has a lot more to offer, so what we'll do is we'll step through a few more points within this book. And Lee goes on to say that, as we said before, that all opinions matter and deserve to be listened to. And Lee, in his position of leadership, says that as a leader, communication needs to be clear, unambiguous, and direct, and it needs to come from both ways. A leader needs to communicate clearly, unambiguously, and directly, but also he needs to have people within his social circle, so employees, customers, stakeholders, to be able to feel free to communicate back to him and to the rest of the organisation in a clear, unambiguous and direct fashion as well. Because it's only through clear, unambiguous and direct communication that we become effective. And we need to make sure that everyone that makes up our team, including all employees, are in a position to clearly communicate and not to feel threatened in any way, and to share their opinions, their fears, their dreams, and to be part of the overall situation and solution. The author also goes on to say that it's important within a social context that all people understand the boundaries and responsibilities, and to appreciate that successful cultures are established by design and not by chance. I come from a culture, from a tradition that goes back thousands of years. My parents were born in Greece, and I too have, lived within that culture, and I appreciate that there is a long chain with many links that go back many years. And each of these links in this chain, in this cultural chain, have been forged by experience, by pain, by suffering, and need to be appreciated and used and not ignored, because the lessons that have come over generations are true lessons, are lessons that are there to protect, to support, and to leverage us into the future. And as my dear mother used to say, she used to say that, son, we have had this culture, these traditions handed to us, passed down to us for a reason. And that reason is to embrace them, is to use them, to leverage them, and to pass them on. And by all means, use what will serve you. Use the lessons that have been passed to us to have a better life. And by all means, if anything else comes into your life in terms of cultural input from other cultures that serve you, by all means supplement and complement the cultural base that you have been offered, but don't swap it out. Make sure that you keep what you've been given, what you've been passed, and your job, should you be good enough to accept it, is to hone these cultural gems, these cultural diamonds, and to express them as best you can, and as honestly and as lovingly as you can, and pass them on to your children and grandchildren. The next formal point that comes from this author is where he says how it's important to get out and about and talk with your customers, your employees, with your stakeholders, and not to isolate. One of the big issues that people have is they go to work in one of those large, beautiful buildings up there. They have the corner office, and they just become totally isolated from the world, and to the point where they do not relate, do not understand how their products and services impact other people, other than looking at the profit and loss and the share price. But the author here, based on his experience, his wealth of experience at the Marriott, at the Hilton Hotel, and at Disney World, learned that the greatest lessons, the greatest input that a manager can get is by getting out and about and talking with people and seeking their experiences. There's a term that he uses in this book called dog fooding. And dog fooding basically is where you, as a senior leader, you as a manager, actually use the products and services that your organisation sells to experience what your customers are experiencing, and knowing what the good points are of your products and service, and also what the bad points are, so that you can look at improving and shaping those products and services to be better experiences for customers. And I remember when I used to work at IBM had an open door policy, and people were encouraged to go in, have meetings, have a chat with senior executives, and senior executives would also invite people on a regular basis to have a quick one-on-one 15-minute meeting where they'd get to meet you, get to know you, had a chat with you, found out what made you tick, and they asked the hard, honest questions as well in terms of what they could do better as a leader to make it a better organisation. And IBM was, without doubt, one of the best places that I ever worked, back in the mid-80s to the early 90s, where it was considered to be one of the best work environments, one of the best corporate citizens in the world. So the point is, circulate regularly. And the author also goes on to say that as a leader, you need to be honest and be able to answer the tough questions and make people feel safe. Some of the best leaders that I've ever worked with are the ones who basically share with you in an honest way their strengths and weaknesses. They're able to clearly articulate what they're good at, what they're not so good at, and why they need other people in their team and around them to supplement and complement those strengths and weaknesses. And by doing this, by being visible, by being honest, by being able to answer, as we said before, those tough questions, what you're able to do is then you're able to build trust within your team, within your organisation, and it's through this trust, through this climate, that you're able to influence, that will actually enable people to become more bolder and freer and more comfortable in offering advice and implementing things that will make your organisation more productive. The last point that the author talks about is where he introduces a mnemonic called A-R-E, where he says that as a manager, as a leader, the most important resource that you have in your organisation is not your product, not your service, but it's the people, the employees. And with the employees, you also have customers, and both of those elements are critical to the success of your organisation. And in order to maximise those two items that we talked about, the employees and the customers, you need to appreciate, recognise and encourage, which is this mnemonic A-R-E. So in order to remember what to focus on as a leader is to appreciate, recognise and encourage, because appreciation, recognition and encouragement is the fuel that sustains people and makes them feel that they belong and what they do is of value, and it helps build a self-confidence and a self-esteem that will continue to enable you to attract and keep the best employees and to have a customer base that is loyal. Employees, people like you, like me, have 4 basic expectations in our lives when we go to work from our employers. We want to be made special, made to feel special. And it's not much to ask for. You know, you employ, you advertise, you bring into your organisation the best people. But once you bring them into your organisation, you just don't leave them there and just don't do anything. What the author here is saying is the job of a leader is to make them feel special, because they are special. You've employed them because they are special. You didn't just bring anybody into your team, you didn't just bring anybody into your organisation. You brought somebody who you thought, through the interview process, was special. So you've got to make them feel special in order to keep them, to grow them. And the next point that the author makes is you need to treat them as an individual and not just as a number, just not as a cohort. You need to treat your employees as individuals And when I worked at IBM in the mid-80s, early 90s, one of the catch cries at IBM was respect for the individual, and to know that each person is different, each person is unique, and each person has different gifts and different challenges at different times of their lives. When you're young, you're looking to get married or to find a partner. Then you want to start a family, and then as you get older, your parents need help. Your children need help with homework. So there are all these challenges that happen to different people at different times of their lives. And these challenges are at the individual level. So what the author is saying here is that you need to treat each person as an individual and work with them to help them grow, develop, and reach their potential. And you can only do that at the individual level. The third point that comes from this author is that employees look to be respected. So the author here says that respect me and make me respect me. So respect for the individual is what IBM used to talk about, as we say, was a key element. And the last point that the author says that employees expect of each of their employer is to make them knowledgeable, to help them grow, develop in their skills, in their abilities, and great leaders develop a culture, develop an environment, develop a climate that enables people to build a career, to grow and develop, to become bigger and better contributors to their organisation over time. So now when I look back over the years, I have been fortunate that I have worked for some great organisations and have had some great managers and have been able to watch and be led by some great leaders, and the way they make you feel, and sometimes those organisations just are a great part of our lives. But sooner or later, things can't go on forever, and organisations go through cycles where they focus on these important things, and then other times when they just drop the ball, and that's why you often get a lot of movement between organisations. In the old days when I worked for IBM, you'd basically join IBM and you'd stay there for your entire career. Whereas these days, this whole concept of career has all but evaporated, where you don't really join an organisation anymore and stay with that organisation. You just flip-flop and jump from organisation to organisation, chasing the money, chasing the perks, but missing out, I guess, on the beauty of having a career, a lifelong career within an organisation where you grow and grow, develop, bend and stretch, and make the most of the skills, the network, and the opportunities that abound and that come from year to year. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. As you can see, it's a magnificent morning. It's a little bit chilly today. It's getting there. Winter's just round the corner. We've got the elections coming this weekend. I don't really know what to expect of these elections. Could go either way, or it could be an absolute landslide. But whatever the case, whoever wins, we will continue to have to work. We will continue to do what we do on a daily basis to get through life, and basically just get on with it. But once again, thank you, and we'll chat again, and I appreciate you joining me on this beautiful morning, and please spread the word. Let people know about Jim's 5am Club. I've got 1,300 vlogs. I'm getting to the point where I'm probably one of the most prolific bloggers throughout the world on personal development material, on book summaries, and it would seem a waste if the effort that I do every day over the past couple of years is not used, I guess the word is I'm looking for. You know, as I say, I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it for likes. I'm just doing it as a service to try and live, learn and pass it on wherever I can. And it's the sort of thing that I enjoy doing, gets me up early in the morning and keeps me up late at night. Take care, wishing you all the best, and we'll chat again. Bye from Sydney on this beautiful morning. Take care.